Hey, how you doing? It's John Henry Guitar Lessons, and I'd like to explain to you in this video the difference between a half step and a whole step, and just in general introduce the concept if you don't know it already. Okay, so let's go to our high E string, this skinny guy, thinnest string right here. Okay, high E, and I'm just going to use that for right now. I'm going to play the first fret. All these boxes are called frets. They'll have a number: first fret, second fret, third fret, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, etc. So I'm going to the first fret, and I'm going to play the note, and I'm going to go a half step up. So from 1 to 2, 1 to 2. That distance, the distance between 1 and 2 on the guitar, is called a half step. If I go from 2 to 3, it's that same distance between two neighboring frets. That's called a half step. So again, a half step is the distance between two neighboring frets, two neighboring tones on the guitar, on any instrument, but we're talking about guitar. So let's say if I go not 1 to 2, but 2 to 1. Still a half step. 3 to 2. Still a half step. What about 1 to 3? What's that? Well, it's a half step plus a half step. Makes a whole step. 1 to 3 is a whole step. What about 3 to 4? Well, it's a half step. 4 to 5, half step. 3 to 5, whole step. 5 to 3. Yeah, you got it. Also a whole step. What about if I go to another string? Let's say the A string. I go to the 5th fret. So let's go 5 to 6. Half step. 6 to 7. Half step, that's right. 7 to 8. Half step. What about 8 to 7? Half step. 8 to 6. It's a whole step. What about 8 to 5? Well, you got one half step. 8 to 7. 7 to 6 is another half step. 6 to 5 is a third half step. 3 half steps equal 1.5 steps. So the distance between 8 and 5 is a step and a half. The distance between 8 and 4, you guessed it, is 2 whole steps. Okay, so this is the nature of half steps and whole steps. So why do we need to know it? Well, when talking to other musicians, it helps us to describe things. And the other cool thing is when you learn a major scale, or any scale, any mode, you can think of it in terms of the intervallic pattern. Now, half step, whole step, step and a half, these are all called intervals because they're the distance between two notes, right? So, a major scale, it's not important to remember it, but I just want to introduce the concept so you see how it connects. A major scale is a pattern of intervals that looks like this. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. So let's say open E string. 0 to 2, that's a whole. Whole, whole, half. Now from 5, whole, 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 half. Do it again. Whole, whole, half. From 5, 5th fret, whole, 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 half. And that's the major scale. Okay? And you could do that, and that's an E. You could do that in any key. You could do it in B, C, D sharp, whatever. If you follow that pattern of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, you get the major scale. It also works with the minor scale. Whole, half. Whole, whole, half. Whole, whole. So it's whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. And each mode or scale has a different pattern. Some even have step and a half intervals in there, like the harmonic minor. So that's the basic idea with intervals. The main thing is to first understand what is a half step, distance between two neighboring frets, and what is a whole step. Skip one fret. Okay? And this applies to all the strings on the neck. It applies to all instruments as well. When you get to Middle Eastern, Indian instruments, maybe African too, sometimes the intervals don't work so cut and dry like that. They could have like quarter step and stuff like that, so it's not the world over, but anything that's fits under the banner of Western music, this is the system. Okay? So until next time, have fun exploring the guitar.